Sorry, but every time I get to teaching you guys, somebody always calls me and interrupts their video. So you're going to have 2 videos on this one as well. But she's in the wilderness. So, that could mean a lot of things from a deserted location. But if you go out, then, you're finding in the middle of nowhere. This Babylon is really in the middle of nowhere in a sense. So that could be representing of a geographic location, or just the fact that she's in the wilderness as opposed to being, where the godly stuff is, whatever you want to call it. She has control or influence over the beast. So the beast, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but there's a beast, and ultimately maybe the beast is Satan, but you have the Antichrist, it's also the beast. The 2 beasts we have from the sea, the one from the earth. The sea one is the Antichrist. The earth one is the false prophet. But when you check out all these things, she has some control over it. She's guiding this whole thing. So, commerce and stuff, guide stuff sometimes. She's clothed in purple, so that's royalty. Scarlet, which is luxury or lust. Gold and jewels were the kind of the equipment of the temple prostitutes. So she's prostituting herself, this woman, for the sake of fornicating with the world as opposed to worshiping God. And that's basically what Cain did. I'm going to go to the east. I'm going to do my own thing. And heck with you, God. I'm going to build my own kingdom, and we're going to do it. And his descendants did the same thing. She holds in her hand a golden cup, which is the abominations. It's what it says. So she's holding her golden cup. If you think of it like somebody drinking golden cup of their intoxicating drink, she has the abominations of the world. Just like when we looked earlier, there was a cup in heaven of the prayers of the saints. Well, this is a cup of the abominations of the world. Always remember that whatever God does, the devil tries to duplicate, but only demonically, right? And so she has the cup of this incense or this abomination. Her identity is clear. It says, mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. I don't know why we would think something differently, but it says right in there, that's Babylon. That's what it says. That's who it is. That's what it's about. And so this is Babylon. This is who it is, right? And that's what I say. A lot of people have identified this and is just the system or America or various other things they have identified. And I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't you just go with what it says? Babylon. And I think it's Babylon, the place geographically. I think it's also the system that's gone out into the world to lure people away from the things of God. If you go back far enough, remember that Babylonians were part of luring Israel away with false gods always. And that's what God constantly talks about in the Bible. Not following after false gods, follow after me. And there was always a battle, and God was always upset. They always seemed to go after false gods. Well, that's what this is. Babylon's identified as that place that's pulling you away from God. The religion is anti-Christian or anti-believer, if you want to put it that way. Now, it gets into this other section. I just want to read to you. I didn't put a lot of notes on it. It says, and by the way, this woman is killed. Not just the saints, but the blood of the martyrs is in her, of Jesus. So some of these martyrs, she's killed. She's looking to kill anybody that, right now on your planet, there are people killing Christians as we speak, just for being Christians. So don't forget that. But that's kind of the deal. And so when we look at this, she's kind of that anti-Jesus, anti-religion. Then it says, but the angel said to me, why do you marvel? Well, I will tell you the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her, which what has the 7 heads and the 7 horns, right? So there's the woman, and then there's the beast, 7 heads and 7 horns. The beast that you saw was and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundations of the world, when you see the beast that was and is not, and yet is. And here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short while. The beast that was and is not, and is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, is going to perdition. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kingdoms, who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as the kings of the beast. These are of one mind, and they will give power and authority to the beast. These will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them. And he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who with him are called chosen and faithful. Then he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, these will hate the harlot and make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his purpose, to be of one mind, and give their kingdom to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman whom you saw, that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. And so, Babylon is the woman, and then you have these horns. And there's 10 of them. These 10 horns represent 10 locations or people of influence that have been promised. Basically, if you follow me, I will eventually make you kings over these certain areas. And so there's going to be a point, and some people say it's the revived Roman Empire, and they had 10 locations. Maybe, maybe not, but they're definitely something from the past that now has been revived, and these 10 locations around the globe are saying, hey, you are going to be kings one day. It's a promise that never gets fulfilled, okay? And then you got the 7 horns, and those represent something unique. And so one of them is, and then he's not, he gets killed, and then he comes back again. So what this is the Antichrist at one point in time. Remember, devil always copies the things of God. So Jesus dies, and he rises from the dead. The devil's going to pull this off as well. So these different guys that come on the scene that are these leaders, and eventually one of them's the Antichrist. And if I remember correctly, I think it's the 6th one that gets killed and then comes back. And so the devil either some kind of way resurrects this Antichrist, or this physical bodied Antichrist, or possessing him and comes back, or some people have suggested maybe there's cloning or whatever, and he comes back, whoa, dude, he came back from the dead, which amazes all the people. Either way, this is the ultimate of the beast. You could see it as Satan, but the Antichrist is that beast who's going to rule over the world and our earth, and that's what all these kingdoms, these things are talking about. So he's kind of the ruler, and he has these 10 different groups of kingdoms with no king, and he's promised, I'm going to make you guys kings one day if you just follow me and give allegiance to the beast. And eventually they turn on him because they have a little infighting going on. Then in chapter 18, we see Babylon fall. Okay, there's some interesting stuff in here. I'm going to read some of it. But it says, and these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having a great authority over the earth, illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon is the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, a cage for every unclean, hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through abundance with her luxury. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in the sins, and lest you receive her plagues. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render her just as you rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works, and the cup which is mixed double for her. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow, for she says in her heart, I sit as queen, and I am no widow, and I will not see sorrow. Therefore her plagues will come in a day, of death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judges her. So this is what's happening. Babylon's getting ready to be taken out. Remember the woman that you saw on the beast? This is Babylon, and she eventually is the one who caused the merchants to live in luxury, to make their money, become rich, and people of the earth bought and sold. This was trade. Now it's interesting that you keep on reading. The kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city Babylon the mighty, city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come, and the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys her their merchandise anymore, merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple, silk and scarlet, every kind of citron wood, every kind of object, ivory, every kind of object, most precious wood, bronze, iron, and marble, and cinnamon and incense, fragrant oil and frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep and horses and chariots, and the bodies and souls of men. The fruit of their souls long for those. They're gone. So he says a whole lot of stuff, but he's saying, look, these are the stuff. This is it. They sold their goods. They sold their silver trinket, their idols, and sold people. Prostitution, slavery, all that's going on at this point. By the way, it still goes on to this day around the world. We just turn our back to it. Even in America, people are stolen and sold for profit. Prostitution's everywhere. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that God's going to take out. And what God does is he wipes it out, man. He sends fire down and burns up Babylon. Well, when they do, all these people that made their money off from them, got rich or living in luxury and have goods to sell, they're ticked. And so eventually they come after Israel is what takes place. And so he says their destruction proclaimed and the demolition, they lament, they're all upset, and destruction is complete. So he goes on in verse 21, the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down and shall not be found any more. The sound of the harpist, the musician, the flutist, the trumpeter shall not be heard in you anymore. No craftsman or any craftsman. In other words, I'm not going to get into reading all that. Basically saying Babylon is going to be taken out, done, complete, kaput. And this is what happens. Literally what happens takes place to Babylon. Chapter 19, we'll get into Jesus riding back in. Basically, the saved today is they turn against Israel. We'll get into that next time. But Babylon's going to be destroyed. So this is what's happening. You guys got to take into account some things that are pretty amazing. What other city around the world do you know that came back into existence after 2,500 years of being desolate? Can you think of one? Babylon was resurrected by Saddam Hussein in my lifetime. That's amazing. And the Bible predicted it 2,500 years ago. It says this stuff in the Old Testament as well, that Babylon was going to be destroyed one day. Everybody says, well, it's already destroyed. How can it be revived and destroyed again? Well, it's already been revived. And so that's not a coincidence. That's fulfilled prophecy. And eventually the Antichrist is going to take over that territory. Remember, there's roughly 1 billion Muslims in the world, so that area, it wouldn't take much. A lot of the population is gone for them to take over the world. A lot of Christians are gone. I mean, all the Christians are gone. And believers are mentalized and martyrs are happening and everything. So these guys, he sets up his kingdom and says, this is my world. America's known as the New World. I don't think we factor that much into the end. I think something happens, the world goes back to that little location over there across the pond we call the Atlantic Ocean, and that's kind of the key to the world at that point. And, that's when Babylon, the geographic location, becomes important again, and God's going to destroy it. That's what's going to take place. That's what's going to happen. And so God's fulfilling all these things through the Bible. How coincidental is that? Is Babylon's one of the first cities mentioned? Babylon's one of the last cities mentioned in the Bible. Because God says, you started rebelling against me, I'm going to finish it. And then we're going to deal with Zion or Jerusalem later on. But that's what these chapters talk about. Those who, man, I don't know about this end time stuff. This stuff is pretty plain to me. I look in the scripture and I see it all over it. What's the fret over? It's the truth. It's common theme throughout the entire Bible. It's going to take place. Eventually, Babylon has become significant, hugely significant in our world again after we're gone, during the tribulation period maybe. And Antichrist is going to set up his kingdom there, and that's what people are going to buy and sell. And they're going to be ticked off when they don't have it anymore. And so this is what's going to happen, and then they're going to turn against Israel. That's basically the gist of it. So I hope you guys understood this. Very complicated. I wish I had you in class so you could raise your hand and ask Mr. Brookman a question. If you want to ask me a question, you can put it on our Google Classroom and ask me that question or send me a text or something like that. I don't understand this or that. God bless you. Amen.